And joining us with more on the talks in Vienna and the new agreement that is taking form is Dr. Chuck Freilich, Adjunct Associate Professor of Political Science at Columbia University and former Deputy National Security Advisor. Thank you for joining us.
And Professor at Tel Aviv.
And Professor at Tel Aviv University, of course. So, Israeli Prime Minister Naftali Bennett saying a new deal should be expected soon, a shorter and weaker deal. I mean, what can you tell us about the agreement that is taking shape in Vienna right now?
Well, the truth is we don't know what the substance of the deal is. And so rather than trying to speculate about that, and we'll know soon enough, I think the real question that we have to ask ourselves is, what's the alternative to a new deal? Now, this deal will not be anybody's dream. The JCPOA, the deal of 2015 wasn't a dream. But the question is, we live in the world that we live in, not the world that we want to live in. So what are the alternatives? Well, the fact is the United States is not going to take the military route against Iran today, as much as we might like to see that happen. The world is only willing to go so far in putting pressure on Iran. Again, we may not like that. That's the way it is. Do we want to go the military route against Iran? I don't think so. The repercussions are severe, and we can at best gain a very small period of time. So in this real world of the options that are truly available, I think that a new deal, just like the deal of 2015, is simply the best of the bad options.
And yet, Prime Minister Bennett saying that with this new deal, within 2.5 years, Iran will nevertheless be able to achieve a nuclear weapon. So what are your thoughts on that?
No. Well, first of all, the Prime Minister spoke imprecisely. A small part of the limitations comes off in 2.5 years. Almost all are in place for another 4 years, and most of the critical things 5 years after that. So the deal gives us 9 more years of relative confidence in terms of where we are with Iran. Now, 9 years is not nothing it's not nothing. On the other hand, it's certainly not a long period of time. And the real effort in the real world that we live in should be on ensuring that the US and others come around in, let's say, year 8 or the beginning of year 9, and make it absolutely clear to the Iranians that, oh, actually, sorry, guys, this thing never ends. It remains in effect for perpetuity, or at least the long term. But to come out now and oppose the deal, and I'm happy that the Prime Minister is doing this in a moderate way, unlike his predecessor. I'm unhappy that he's doing it at all, but if he's going to oppose it, he is doing it in a moderate way.
That actually,
we should be focusing on...
Yeah, go ahead. No, I was going to say that leads me to my next question, actually, which I wanted to ask, is that Bennett taking a very different approach to his predecessor, Benjamin Netanyahu, who was one of the most vocal opponents of the previous deal. You think this is the right move, you're saying, in terms of Bennett's reaction?
Well, I think that the Iranian nuclear program, which does present an at least potentially existential state to the state of Israel, is the kind of issue in which it is legitimate for us to come out carefully, even in opposition to the policy of our closest ally, the United States, a country we owe a debt to that we could never repay. But this is our existence. So it's legitimate, let's say, to express disagreement among friends. The question is how you do it. Mr. Netanyahu took on President Biden in the Congress. It was like a duel in the OK Corral. It was, I believe, an unforgivable move on his part. Prime Minister Bennett, very fortunately, has taken a much more restrained approach. Pretty much, I would say, within the bounds of disagreement among friends. But what he really could be doing is taking a positive approach, looking at the full half of the glass, and then doing whatever we can to minimize the half-empty part of it, which is there. And it's going to be there whether we like it or not. We're, at this point, a minor player in this issue. And repeated opposition by Israel has actually marginalized us. It hasn't helped us.
All right, Dr. Chuck Freilich, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us today.
My pleasure.
ILTV Plus, your news from Israel and more 24/7. Start your free trial today. Subscribe at iltv.tv and watch from any device.